I wanted to address something really quick about recording. I've heard a lot of questions about that, and I'll get so much stuff about this audio interface, or this studio, or this amplifier, or this microphone, or this preamp, or this, that, the other thing, until it's just, I'll listen to people talking about how they need all this stuff to try to, make a piece of music. And basically, if you really take your time, when you're going to record something, there's a few things that are very important. Think about, first of all, the performance, your performance on recording it. That your performance is good, that it's a good performance. That you've set your mind, or you've got whoever you're recording, that their mind is set to record and do a good job. Hype yourself up, hype them up, that they're going to get them going, that they're going to do a great job and get them happy about it. And so you can get a good performance, that they're really loosened up, and, they're really going to do a good performance. That is issue number one. And that will take care of so many problems it's not even funny. And it's that simple. That performance issue is so important when you're doing any recording. And the second issue is going to be to get a good capture. That means you may not have the most expensive microphone or the most expensive interface or anything like that, but get a good, clean capture. Don't worry about putting some effects on it or some kind of reverbs and stuff like that, and try not to print effects onto the part that you're recording if you can help it. Try to keep it clean so you got something to work with, but worry about getting a good, clean, solid capture. That the vocalist is staying steady in front of the microphone, that he's not all over the place or turning his head, and or as part of getting a good clean capture after you've made sure that his performance is going to be good, a good steady good capture, and on the guitar or on the bass or on the keyboards or anything, just making sure that it's a good capture, that you've got it routed in there and you've tested it really well about, okay, I've recorded a little sample to see how it's going to turn it and how it's going to listen. And it's even with a simple interface and a cheap microphone, or or plugged into it, you could probably get a pretty good capture to work with. But worry about getting a good capture of a good performance, and really work. The good capture breaks down to the guitar strings need to be replaced. They're buzzing all over the place. You're never going to get a good capture with it. The microphone, the guy doesn't know how to hold himself to the microphone. He needs some help with that. The distance of it set, if you're micing the guitar and plugging it in, that the guy's understanding that how to play it so that it's a good capture. And that's one part of it going in, and then the next part of that is that you've got it set up in the dot, or we've got the volume pushed up as high as you can get without clipping, but being under that so you get a good loud capture of it and a good clean capture of it. Make sure that the microphone and the pickups are working well. Making sure that all the equipment's working well, even if it's cheap equipment, to get as good a capture as you can, and really focus on trying to get a good capture. And anything between his performance or the guitarist or the bass player, any piece of equipment that's in line up to the recording, the actual recording that's in the DAW, every little piece of instrument that might be able to affect that capture, and how to make that capture better with what you have, so you have as good of a capture as you can get. You can do magic in the studio if you've got a good capture, even if it's on cheap equipment and you have some idea how to use the equipment that you have, and to use the effects and use the processors to enhance that capture, and worried about every aspect and every piece of equipment that's in line up to the point of being recorded, up to a recorded piece, and everything in line up to that, and making sure everything is set to get as good a capture as possible. And really super focus on getting as good a capture as possible. And it's that simple. That's step one, performance. Second part is capture. Even with dirt cheap equipment, you can make something sound great in Audacity, and I'm telling you, you just can. You have to worry about those aspects. And the next thing is timing, making sure that it's in time so you're not having to go back and worry about, timing issues. Make sure that when it's being recorded, that you're trying to record to a click track or something in the background or something that's keeping everything as well in time and as good in as time as possible. Even if you have to redo it because it was a little bit off, every now and then a note or something off, that's cool. That's what that equipment and the processors are for, to be able to fix stuff like that. Not to fix a whole track and quantize 15 minutes of guitar playing. That's ridiculous. It's just for every now and then. So make sure that your timing is really good and you really spend the time on making sure that they can go with a click track or with a metronome that's not getting recorded on there, that the timing is just dead on as good as possible. And really super focus on that issue. Those three issues, if you can get those three issues done in your recording, even with a dirt cheap interface and Audacity and the stock plugins that you can get on that and the free shit you can get off the internet, you can probably make some pretty good sounding music. Those are the three issues you need to focus on. The performance, making sure it's as good as it can get, the person's loosened up or you are, to do is, and with a positive attitude, to do as good a performance as they can and as accurate as a performance as they can. And take a couple takes. To take a couple takes, don't overdo it till the guy or yourself are just burned out with 30 takes of one vocal track. I mean, take a break, dude. It's too much. He's not performing well today, or you're not performing well today. Set it off to the side. Maybe tomorrow, dude. Today it's not going that well. Don't put yourself into the dirt over it. But that's the first most important thing, that performance, and getting as good a performance as you can get. The next thing is that capture. Every piece of equipment, from the guitar strings to the pickup on the guitar, to the plug-in, to the output, to the treble knob on it, anything that might be causing an issue, all the way through every piece of equipment, all the way up into the DAW and coming through there where you're recording it, everything in line there, check to make sure that you are getting as good of a capture as you can. And push up the volume to where you're getting it as loud as you can without clipping, so that you've got a really good loud capture to work with that's not clipping or distorting or really soft here. Does that make sense? And a good and steady as a capture as you can get, and as clear and clean as a capture as you can get. You can do magic in the studio if you got that, okay? And the other part is that timing. If you got to work at the click track and really make sure that yourself or whoever you're working with understand how important those three things are, and to be in time, to be dead on time, and to be right there, so that if every now and then he's off a little bit or you're off for one note, halfway through a performance, that you've got your quantization things, or you've got, a slipping you can do on the track, or you've got, stretching it a little bit here and there, on one note here or there. And, that just kind of saves a wonderful performance that was captured real well, that was in great time. Okay, now I know that sounds simple beyond comprehension, but I know from experience that I don't have no money when I started doing this. And it took a long time before I could get even cheap equipment. And things like Audacity, things like really super, you can get a cheap interface for $99 and super cheap microphone. And if you just work on those aspects and understand what's going on and getting as clean a capture as you can do miracles if you've got those three things recorded. That performance that's wonderful, the captures as clean and as clear as possible, and as well as possible, with a good volume decibel that's not clipping or distorting in any way, with no effects printed on it, so you have something good and clear and clean to work with, and tempo, timing, that it's dead on, that it's just as good as it can be in the timing, and everybody's loosened up in a good attitude, you're in a good attitude, and got a good mentality, positive mentality, to get it done great, and everybody's just excited about getting it done. As much as you can do to get that feeling going, the better it's going to be. And if you can get those three things, when you get the stuff recorded, you can do magic in the studio. You can add drum samples to drums, you can add reverb, you can add delays, you can add distortions, you can add phasing, you can add I mean, you've got a whole world that you can start to color all that beautiful stuff, those captures of that wonderful performance, of those beautiful captures that are great in time. You've got wonderful tools, even in a free studio with a $99 interface and a cheap microphone and a cheap plug. You know, you want to be able to buy some stuff that's not dirt cheap. You don't want cords that go, but you know, it is not going to cost that much. And the better equipment you have doesn't always mean you're going to get better recordings. It might seem that way, but if you really focus on those three things, you can probably get it done with some very cheap equipment and what you got. And if you focus on those three things, when you start to mix, you'll be amazed at all the wonderful things you can do if you focus on those three things being good. There you go. Focus on that when you're recording. And that's the three most important things you can worry about. Peace, hope, love.